Oh, very, very sneaky. Very, very, very sneaky, 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 sneaky. What a piece of shit. Ooh, spooky. Hello. How is everyone doing today? So I have a couple of eBay packages to ship, and I have a really big box from a Facebook customer that I need to ship off. And I also have a couple other errands to run, so I figured I'd bring you guys along with me. And while I work, I want to tell you guys a little story. What I needed over here. So this is a Haas Laboratory taupe brown micro eyebrow pencil, sold for $5.77 plus the cost of shipping. So after shipping fees and all of that, my net on this is probably about $4. Let's go find another thing. So what story do I want to tell you guys about today? You guys seem to, back when I was doing them, you guys seem to really like when I would tell you the stories about unsightly customers or issues that I've had with employees. So I want to tell you the story. Tell me in the comments what exactly you would call this absolute violation of trust by an employee. I don't consider it stealing. I don't know what to call it. Tell me in the comments what you think. Here's the story. Now, this item would be over here. This next eBay item I'm shipping out is a waterproof shock collar for a dog with a 1,600 foot range. That's kind of crazy. It sold for $13.57 plus the cost of shipping, so my net on this is going to be around $11. If you are new to my YouTube channel, I owned a bin store. I started getting into liquidation selling on eBay, and then I started getting into truckloads, and I decided to open up a bin store. When I decided to open up a bin store, I hired an entire staff of people. One of the individuals that I hired exclusively for marketing purposes. Truth be told, I did not know if I actually needed to have someone to do my marketing. You know, I've done social media, I've done YouTube and all these things, but there was an old friend of mine from high school. We had always been Facebook friends, and he had moved back to the area, and he actually reached out to me. Serious? I have to restart the computer? Of course I have to restart the computer right now. So I'm just gonna talk to you. So when I first started teasing opening up the store, my friend from high school who I was Facebook friends with had just recently moved back, and he actually reached out and started telling me that he actually went to Wichita State University for graphic design and marketing. And you know, it's on his Facebook page that he went there and he has a certification in doing all of these things. And he said, can I send you some of my work for other companies and possibly let me do some marketing for you? So he sent me some of his work, and I thought it was pretty good. And because I felt like I was already taking on so much with the store, I didn't want to have to necessarily worry about marketing as well. So I was like, yeah, sure. So I ended up signing a contract with him for about 6 months to do some marketing work for me. Now, this included things like Facebook promotions, commercials, videos, graphics. He was basically going to be almost running the Facebook page for me, and I wanted it to be big. It was the very first bin store that was in the Wichita area. Nobody in the area really knew what bin stores were. I wanted it to be a big deal, and so the more I thought about it, I wanted a professional marketer to do all of that for me. I mean, when we started out, it was fine. It was fine. Like, he wasn't really doing anything I couldn't have done myself, but I guess the whole purpose was he does it so that I don't have to, kind of thing. Well, one of the things that he would do is he would come in on stock days and he would take sneak peek photos, and he would get footage of like us dumping the pallets in the bins, because the act of dumping the pallets in the bins was honestly kind of a spectacle. I have an old video I'll put right here so you could see, but it was kind of like a spectacle of dumping the pallets in these bins. We had this huge piece of machinery that would lift the pallets and hold it over the bins, and we would like cut the side down, and all of the stuff would spill out in the bins, and it was kind of a cool thing to see. Okay, hold on, gotta send a tracking number. So whenever I ship anything on Facebook, I always have to send the tracking numbers individually. If you ship through eBay, of course, it uploads tracking automatically. But when I print shipping labels for Facebook customers, I have to send them the tracking numbers so that they know where their package is and when to expect it. I also like to send out the tracking numbers because I want them to know that I've actually shipped it and they didn't just like pay me for shipping and then I, you know, disappear. So for the first 4 weeks or so, he was coming in during stock days, and this was also Christmas season. So he was there every single week, and he was there for hours and hours and hours because it was Christmas. It was the first Christmas season the bin store was open. We wanted to make this big deal about it. Oh, we were so busy. I know I've told you guys in the past, we were pulling like $100,000 a month plus in profit. It was nuts. So not only was this guy doing marketing for me on the off days, but he was also a shopper. And honestly, at the time, I did not see an issue with that because he wasn't asking to purchase things outside of store hours. It's not like, you know, he was there during the stock day saying, hey, can I buy this right now? He was waiting just like everybody else in line. He would show up in line, he would wait, he would fight the crowd. But I could tell that he was definitely interested in reselling because he knew my history with reselling. He knew that I taught reselling on YouTube. And so he always had a bunch of questions for me. And I could definitely tell that the items that he was purchasing were definitely for resale. But the problem that we started noticing almost right away was that he was finding items in the bins that were items that none of us really recognized. As in, they were items that we don't remember seeing putting in the bins. And the reason why that was concerning to us was because these were some really good items. Like, we always did sneak peek photos. We would post sneak peek photos on our Facebook page to show people like, hey, these are the awesome deals that are coming out this week. And a lot of the items that he was purchasing would have been sneak peek items because that's how good they were. Like, those were items that we would have like zeroed in on in the bins to post sneak peek photos of on the Facebook page, but we never saw them. And we just thought that was a little weird, but we had just opened up the bin store and we thought, well, it's probably impossible for us to, you know, see every single item that's in the bins. Maybe it was hiding underneath or something. Maybe we just didn't know what we were looking at and we missed it. Even his mother found a smartphone. Yeah, it was about 6 weeks after we opened. It was our Black Friday sale where our start day was usually $5, but for our $5 day, everything was 50% off. So that means that our first day was $2.50. So Black Friday weekend, the first day was $2.50, and then the next day dropped to $1.50, and then the third day was 50 cents. That was our Black Friday weekend extravaganza, and it was massive. Even with only a $2.50 price point, we still pulled $15,000 in one single day. We moved a lot of stuff that day. But the thing that was fishy was it wasn't him, but his mother, who found a Samsung Galaxy S20 smartphone, brand new in a brown box. Very, very suspicious, don't you think? I think we would have noticed a smartphone in the bins, but none of us had seen it. None of us even knew it was there until she was up at the front checking out. And she paid only $2.50 for this smartphone. But a smartphone is small, right? We thought, well, maybe we just missed it. It was this teeny tiny little box. We just overlooked it. It was completely unmarked. That was easy enough to overlook. But then I think he got a little bit greedy. And the next thing that he brought up sent up so many red flags. It really sent me investigating into finding out exactly what he was doing. All right, I'm going to get all of this carried upstairs because this is a big box, and we'll continue this on the drive. So yeah, that's a big old box. You see that big old box? I appreciate all my Facebook customers. I appreciate my eBay customers too. I appreciate all my customers because it is my customers that allows me to do this. If my customers weren't my customers, I would have to go out and get a real job, and I'd have to be like an office manager or something like I used to be, and I hated that. So I appreciate my customers. So on this weekend in particular, my marketer came in to shop as he usually does. He was right at first in line, or at least one of the first in line, like he usually was. And he brought up the same normal 10 to 15 items as he normally purchased. But one of those items was a case packed box. And this case pack, it was a big box. It probably had 20 of these headphone sets in there. And we had gotten case pack stuff before. So we would get truckloads of what were referred to as blended loads. So that would mean that we would get some Amazon stuff. We might get some Target stuff. We might get some Walmart stuff. It was a mix of brand new and returns also. So there could have been brand new stuff or there could have been returns. And case pack stuff is brand new. You know, you don't get returns of case pack stuff. So every single time we would have case packed items, we could recognize the boxes immediately because they look different from the other boxes. And we would always take the case pack boxes and open them up and spread the things out, as long as it wasn't something that was like super cheap. Like if it was a case pack of $4 spot things, we would probably just leave those together as a set. But something like 20 pairs of headphones in a case pack, we absolutely would have broken that up. I think it was a Target brand or something, but you could find them on Amazon. People were reselling them on Amazon for $29. So who knows what the actual Target price was. Anyway, whenever there is something that's a red flag like that, my cashiers would always call over a manager or myself for approval because, you know, sometimes customers get sneaky. Sometimes customers put multiple things in a box. So anytime my cashiers would see something that was like, alert, 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 this is weird, they would call over me or a manager. And of course they called me over too because this guy technically worked for me. So they thought that I would be the best person to approve it. So I was called over and I looked at this box and I was just absolutely dumbfounded because I'm like, there is no way in hell we would have missed this. No way in hell we would have missed this ginormous box of headphones that we could have easily sold for $5 a piece. Easy, like easy peasy, $5 a piece people would have paid for these headphones. So that would have been on $5 day, 20 pairs of headphones would have been $100 in revenue that he was trying to buy for $5. $5 for the whole box when it was easily $100 worth of revenue if it was all broken up. I was irritated and wanting to find out exactly how this happened, which I will say, I did not let him buy the whole box. I said, I'm sorry, man. I said, you see how the back end of this place works. I cannot sell you all 20 of these in one box for $5. I was like, you have obviously seen us break stuff up like this before. I don't know how this box was missed. I cannot sell it to you. And so, you know, he was like, okay, he was understanding. He bought the other items, which numerous other items that he found, about half of the items every single week, we wouldn't recognize from seeing in the bins. And afterwards, you know, my cashiers would come and ask me, did you see this item in the bins? And I'd be like, no, he found this and I don't remember seeing this, do you? And so everybody would talk, did you see this? Nobody. So after the headphone thing, I'm like, okay, I need to find out what's really going on. I'm gonna take this box inside real quick though. I'll be right back. Okay. So as I'm sure a lot of you can assume, I did have cameras. But of course I can't just like sit and watch the cameras all day, every day, because there's hours upon hours worth of footage. Not only is there hours upon hours of footage, but there's also 16 cameras. There was 16 cameras in the store with 24 hours a day footage. I couldn't just like sit down and watch the cameras, you know what I mean? Okay, so now I need to go to the bank. So we're gonna go to the bank now. Going to the bank cause we're running errands. So the next time it was stock day, I was watching him very, very closely. I'm like, So the next day while we were stocking, I was watching him very, very closely and I wasn't seeing anything out of the ordinary. Although I couldn't keep my eyes on him the whole time because we're working, right? Like we are stocking an entire store with a truckload of merchandise. So he was over with all of the, like the truckload pallets and everything, doing footage and doing things that he normally does. So he was far, far away from us. And then when he was over with us doing things, I did not notice anything out of the ordinary. So I decided to review tapes. So I was reviewing the tapes of when he was wandering around the truckload area, and what I saw was infuriating. So what he was doing while he was taking photos of the truckload and getting ready to promote the next upcoming week's sneak peeks. So when you have a truckload, you have a bunch of wood pallets that can only get so close to each other. And then you have these what are called gaylords, which are just giant cardboard boxes. You have these gaylords sitting on top of the wood pallets. And what he was doing is he was taking stuff out of the gaylords and he was putting them in between the gaylords so that nobody could see them. Then when he would notice nobody would be around or nobody was looking, he would go back to the items that he would pull out and he would kind of conceal them and hide them a little bit. And he would walk about 10 or 15 feet away to where there was closed cabinets in the clothing area. So where we stored the truckload was pretty close to where we would like hang up clothing, and we had clothing bins and things. And in that back area, we had cabinets that we really didn't keep anything in because we didn't have the key. When I took possession of the building, I knew that these were locked cabinets, but the landlord did not have keys for the cabinets. So because we couldn't lock these cabinets, we really didn't store anything in them. So we just kind of, you know, forgot that the cabinets even existed because they weren't in use. So what he was doing is he was taking these items from in between the gaylords that he had hidden when nobody was looking, and he was just moving them 10 to 15 feet and putting them inside of these cabinets. And so then what I realized what he was doing was, on the first day when it was crowded and super crazy busy, what he was doing was he was using all of the bodies that were crowded in the clothing area to kind of conceal him so that he could then open the cabinets and pull out the stuff that he had stashed inside. Oh, very, very sneaky. Very, very, very sneaky, 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 sneaky. Like, wow. Just wow. And so that is how he was getting all of these items that we had never even seen. Because when you take stuff out of the pallets, before we've even had a chance to take the pallets, dump them in the bins to actually see what's inside, there's no way for us to know what was in those pallets because he took the stuff out of the pallets before we even got to see. And so it was all coming together. It all made perfect sense. That's why he was checking out with things that nobody saw, because the stuff that we were putting in the bins was not actually the stuff that he was checking out with. What a piece of shit. All right, I'm gonna go inside and do my bank thing. I'll be right back. So I know that you can probably guess it's safe to assume that he didn't work for me long after that. I absolutely broke our contract. He was not a payroll employee. He was technically like he wasn't even a contractor either. I don't know. I just paid him and he was just a cost. It was like I hired a company to do something basically, because he was his own company and I contracted with his company to do work for me. But that was just so shady. It wasn't, what do you guys call it? Tell me what you call it, because I don't even know what to call it. I just call it being a shitty person. Just like being a bad person. That's what I call it. But it's not stealing. It is stealing, but it's not stealing. Let me know in the comments. What would you call it? What would you call this? Was he scamming me? Was he conning me? But he wasn't. He was just being dishonest. He was just being a dishonest douchebag. I mean, dishonest douchebag. That's what he was. He was just a dishonest douchebag. And I mean, and it was just at that moment I realized I really, really had to watch my employees. Now, I did have some employees. There was a couple employees I did have to let go of for doing similar things, completely different, but still similar. Maybe I'll tell you the story of one of them sometime. But, for the most part, the employees that I had nearly the entire time my store was open, which was about 2.5 years, the entire 2.5 years my store was open, there was like a solid core of employees that I had the entire time that I did really feel like I could trust. But then there were some that I just knew I couldn't trust and they weren't with me very long. And after talking with other bin store owners, I realized that having a bin store is just like a cesspool of dishonest, thieving employees. And there's like all of these horror stories that I would hear about other bin store owners saying that, you know, they found employees hiding things in the dumpster, like hiding things in the literal dumpster that they could pull out after their shift was over. you know, they would, you know, find things in the bins and they would put them in the shopping carts while they were collecting trash. And then they would take the trash out and they would put their merchandise inside the dumpster and then come back after close and take it. Or, you know, hiding things inside of other things for their friends or family to come and buy. I mean, and that's kind of the problem with bin stores, because bin stores don't really have, you don't scan barcodes, you know what I mean? So there's no real way to track inventory. It's not like, you know, you scan a barcode and then after you scan the barcode, you input what the item is, you say how many you have, you input the price. There's really no system for tracking what is actually inside your bins. It's just when someone comes to check out, you just check, you know, how many quantity they have. And it makes it really, really easy for people to steal or for employees to be dishonest. And that was a massive, massive problem with my bin store. And I don't want to say that it was the primary reason why I decided to close my bin store after 2.5 years. If you followed my channel, you'll know the issues that I had with my landlord and declining sales and all of these things. But, you know, thievery and shoplifting played a major, major part in that, because I know that a big reason why my sales were decreasing so much had to be because it was just walking out the freaking door. It had to just be theft, you know. So for that reason alone, owning a bin store was just tough, tough, tough. It was a really hard business to run. Really hard business to run. Really, the only other thing I have to do is go grab a bag of ice, and then I can go back home and work. Yippee skippy. But let me know, did you guys like this kind of video? Do you like me just kind of like storytelling of horror stories from when I owned a store? Because I got a lot of them. I got a lot of stories. I got a lot of stories about employees doing shady things, customers doing shady things, weird interactions that I've had with people in public when I had the store. Shoot, even weird interactions I've had with people in public not at my store, just shopping at other stores. I'm telling you, bin stores bring out a certain crowd of people and it ain't always good. So yeah, let me know if you like this kind of video, and maybe I will do some more work kind of things and do a little bit of storytelling while I get some work done. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, please make sure to hit that thumbs up before you leave. It really does help me with the YouTube algorithm, and I love you for it. Don't forget to check the video description. I always put a lot of useful information in there, including the link to my Facebook page where you could see in real time how exactly I'm selling on Facebook. And as you saw, I do ship items on Facebook as well. So if you happen to see something that you're interested in, or multiple somethings, you can join in on the fun. Just claim sold in the comments and it's yours. As long as it's still in stock anyway, it's yours. I also have my nut and candy business link down there if you want to see what kind of items I'm selling at my farmer's market booth. And please remember to subscribe if you haven't already and ring that notification bell. That way you're notified whenever I post my next video. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.